Welcome back, patreon.com/Derrick Lamon experience. This also available on YouTube. I think it's like to be like a week or so later. I will iron out those details after I do the edits, and then it'll actually be available on Instagram. And I guess I'm gonna be a TikToker. You guys have got to kind of wait and see. We'll tell you when it happens. But today I'm here with the maiden voyage of the last word. As you can see below me, down there somewhere it says last word. It doesn't matter. Today, I want to talk to you guys about something that's been weighing very heavy on my heart. I wouldn't call myself a Sony pony, right? I play on all platforms. I'm actually recording this video on my gaming PC. So I have a PlayStation 5. My daughter has a PlayStation 5. I have a PlayStation 5 Pro. I have an Xbox Series X and a Series S. My daughter has a Series S. I still have my PlayStation 4 Pro. I have a Nintendo Switch. Intend on getting the Nintendo Switch 2. I have if there's a console out there, you name it, I have it. I've been a part of the PlayStation ecosystem since December of 1997 because that's when I got my PlayStation for Christmas because I so desperately wanted to play Final Fantasy VII. It is one of those pinnacle experiences for me, and it will always be in my top 5 video games of all time. Neither here nor there. We're here to talk about this guy that you're seeing on the screen right now. His name is Herman Holst. He was formerly the head of Guerrilla Games, which is a PlayStation first-party studio. He somehow became the head of PlayStation Studios. I don't want to denigrate or take anything away from Herman Holst, but sometimes you have somebody put into a position based on catching lightning in a bottle. Not to shit on the Killzone franchise, but everybody knows who Mario is. Even if you don't play video games, if you have Max, you are aware that The Last of Us exists. You may not watch it. It came from a video game. Um, so many video games we're very aware of. You may not play video games. You know there's a Madden every year. You know there's a 2K every year. You know how important Grand Theft Auto is to gaming culture. Killzone was never one of those franchises that just set the world on fire. I literally have never heard anybody say, hey, I've got to buy a PlayStation 3 or a PlayStation 4 to play Killzone. I remember playing Killzone Shadowfall on the PlayStation 4 when it first came out. I also remember playing Knack, but Knack didn't burn the world up, at least not for I. And that's no shade to Mark Cerny because Mark Cerny is the architect of the PlayStation 4 as well as the PlayStation 5. There is an issue. Some people said that Shawn Layden was pushed out, and then we got new leadership at PlayStation. It was Jim Ryan, and then Herman Holst was put under him as the head of PlayStation Studios. And I'm just like, I got to kind of question this move because there are far other more successful franchises. Now, at the moment, Horizon was the hot new kid in school. Guerrilla previously made Killzone. And when they pivoted, I remember the first time they showed Horizon. I can't remember what E3 it was. And me and Juan were sitting there like, this is a post-apocalyptic world where dinosaurs are machines. This looks really fucking dope. And we were all in on it. And when Horizon came out, I'll never forget the date, February 28th of 2017. I remember that date very well because video games still came out on a Tuesday at that point. And I want to say music albums probably did as well. So Horizon came out February 28th, 2017. I remember playing it. Juan was like, how is it? I was like, no, this is fucking phenomenal. That Friday, March 3rd, 2017, the Nintendo Switch came out. I started playing The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and I didn't finish Horizon for a very long time. You can see right now, Polyphony Digital, Gran Turismo, very fucking good game. Here's the thing. Horizon, great game. But it kind of put Guerrilla into the stratosphere where everybody's like, they're now one of the best PlayStation studios. It definitely elevated them. I still don't think they're better than the Sony Santa Monica. I don't think that Polyphony Digital has a track record going all the way back to the first PlayStation with the Gran Turismo series. A Naughty Dog, Crash Bandicoot, The Last of Us, The Uncharted, Jack and Daxter. They have this new IP that they showed off at the Game Awards. So many people, Cory Barlog, responsible for a lot of the success of the God of War franchise. Did he get a call? Did he not want to take over? I don't know. Jim Ryan and Herman Holst may have destroyed this generation of PlayStation. This has been, by far, It's like the PlayStation 2 was so amazing and Sony got really greedy. And then the PlayStation 3 came out with 2 SKUs, one for $600 and the other one was $500. Everybody's like, what the hell? And I remember when they showed it off and everybody gasped at the price, they were like, if you really want it, you'll get 2 jobs. And I remember sleeping on the floor of the Walmart Garden Center in line to get a PlayStation 3. And my mother thought I spent $1,000. I was like, no, it was 600. She's like, on the news, they said it was 1,000. I was like, the news has no idea what they're talking about. Neither here nor there. So anyway, PlayStation 3, they got greedy. Sony partnered with IBM and Toshiba to make a chipset. Well, not a chipset, a chip. And the developers, third-party developers found it very hard to program for the PlayStation 3 technology. Um, while it was successful, it took some years for it to gain steam. Sony caught back up to Xbox had a lead for a long time, and the Xbox 360 came to market a year before the PlayStation 3 did. Sony was able to eventually catch back up, and they sold 89 million PlayStation 3s around that amount. Um, they knew they had to make changes going into the PlayStation 4. Number one, we're not releasing a console at the price of $500 or $600. We're going to cut that. We're going to drop it at $400. We are going to build this on x86 architecture. We're going to give the developers more RAM. We're going to do that. They went around to all the developers. What do you guys want us to do with our next console? What do you want? They asked these questions. PlayStation 4 is widely regarded as one of the greatest generations in gaming. So then Sony's back on top and Microsoft just did everything to shit the bed with the Xbox One. From the always on DRM to TV, didn't show us any games. They were canceling games. They didn't have many studios. So when it came time for the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and S, Microsoft's like, hey, we've got to try to approach this differently. They went out and acquired Bethesda ZeniMax. And Sony was like, well, we have a lot of great first party studios. We're going to let them get to work. And you see the result. You see Spider-Man 2, the teaser for Wolverine, which we still don't know anything about at this point, other than the Insomniac leak of December of 2023. Here's the problem. Jim Ryan decided that live service games would be best, and they implemented this strategy where PlayStation Studios were going to release 12, count them 12 live service games. What is a live service game, you may ask? A live service game is something like a Fortnite. It's always on. What was God damn it, what was the game where you played soccer with the cars? I can't think of the name. That's a live service game. You could say Gran Turismo could be considered a live service game. Splatoon, NBA 2K is an example with the online. Generally sports games, you can consider them live service games, not in totality because they do have single player modes, but a lot of people play 2K just to play the park and stuff like that. Couple live service games, no big deal. 12 live service games is a problem. And what they've done is probably destroyed the PlayStation 5, and it's a beautiful piece of technology. I have a PlayStation 5. I still have my launch unit. I also have a PlayStation 5 Pro. My daughter has a PlayStation 5. I also have an Xbox Series X and a Series S. My daughter has a Series S. We are gamers. We have Nintendo Switch. Still got my Wii U. Still my PlayStation 4 Pro. We are gamers. I just thought that, especially with the work that Sony and Mark Cerny did with the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 5 Pro, I'm like, when we saw this particular showcase, this was September of 2021. I'm like, they're going to blow our socks off this generation. God of War Ragnarok, 10 out of 10. I fucking recommend. A lot of great games. The problem is we had no idea what the other studios were doing. Sony Santa Monica shipped this. Insomniac shipped Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart and Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man Miles Morales all on the PlayStation 5. Now, granted, Spider-Man Miles Morales also shipped on the PlayStation 4. But other than that, Ratchet and Clank and Spider-Man 2 shipped PS5 only. Now, they are both on PC at this point, and that's another problem. We'll get into that at a later date. I say all that to say this. After all this time, we finally have a changing of the guard at PlayStation. So this comes from IGN.com. Hideki Nishino elevated to sole CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment. Hiroki Totoki promoted to Sony CEO. Herman Holst will remain as CEO of PlayStation Studios. I didn't like the way they pushed Shawn Layden out. Sorry, I felt a way about that. I didn't like the way that Shuhei Yoshida was demoted. I felt a way about that. Jim Ryan is a finance guy. There's nobody on the planet Earth that can convince me that Jim Ryan actually sits down and plays video games at home. I don't buy that. Reggie Fils-Aimé, who used to be the head of Nintendo a couple of years ago, I believe Reggie played games. I'm pretty certain Reggie did. Um, what's my guy? Phil Spencer, head of gaming over at Microsoft, formerly head of Xbox, but formerly now he's the head of Microsoft Gaming. Phil plays video games. I know Phil plays video games. That's who I want running the first party studios. I don't want a numbers guy in charge of PlayStation business. If you want to handle the business, that's one thing. Having a numbers guy say we should have 12 live service games is absolutely ridiculous. Concord, a fucking flop. Then we find out that Bluepoint, we were told that Bluepoint was working on a original IP, and we come to find out 2 weeks ago that Blueprint was actually working on a God of War live service game, and that got canceled. That Twisted Metal game that was rumored because the Twisted Metal TV show was coming to Peacock, that was real. That got canceled. So many PlayStation games at first party studios were canceled. Sony Bend was also working on a live service game that got canceled. Concord came out 2 weeks later. They pulled the game and it's no longer going to be it's no longer playable. And that was back in August because Jim Ryan saw all the money that Epic Games was making off of Fortnite and believe Sony got broke off just a smidge of that because Sony has a very small investment in Epic Games. I think it was like 10% or less than 10% or something like that. So Jim Ryan saw this and he saw all the money that they were making on Fortnite and all the money that Take-Two and 2K were making on the park and NBA 2K and how much EA makes off of Madden and FIFA and now college football is back and NHL and all these games. And he's like, we should have those games. Yeah, we should definitely have some live service games. A couple wouldn't hurt. 12 was always too freaking many. And now you've put the PlayStation 5, a great piece of tech, in a horrible position because it is now 2025. The PlayStation 5 launched November 12th of 2020. I know this because the Xbox Series X and S launched November 10th of 2020. We are 5 years into a console generation. Generally, console generations used to go about anywhere 5 to 6 years. And then the recession came in the mid 2000s and those generations went longer. The PlayStation 3 was Sony's primary console from 2006 to 2013. 7 years is a little long for a console generation. Now, because we're definitely headed for another recession, this console generation, the PlayStation 5 generation is probably going to go to like 2028. I believe Microsoft is going to launch their next console in 27 or 28 as well, sometime around there. We're in the back half of the PlayStation 5 life cycle, and now Sony Bend has to press restart because their game got canceled because it was a live service game. Keep in mind, Sony Bend shipped Days Gone the same day Avengers Endgame debuted in theaters, and that was April of 2019. And this whole time, we don't know what the hell Sony Bend is working on. And then we see these leaked images. It's going to be like a military shooter. And guess what? It is fucking canceled. We did not find out what Naughty Dog was working on till back in December at the Game Awards. I'm excited for the new Naughty Dog IP. I know a lot of people feel a way about the female character with a bald head and they're calling it woke and all that bullshit. And they're just a bunch of idiots. I'm excited for the Naughty Dog game because Naughty Dog has not done me wrong yet. From Crash Bandicoot all the way to The Last of Us Part 2. I've loved every Naughty Dog game. So at some point, I guess we're going to see Cory Barlog's new game from Sony Santa Monica. Apparently, it's also a sci-fi themed game. So hope it's enough. Sony Bend has got to press reset. We're going to get Ghost of Yotei, the follow-up to Ghost of Tsushima. We're going to get that from Sucker Punch, I believe sometime this year. What about the other PlayStation first party studios? Well, San Diego studio makes MLB The Show every year, so we know what they're working on. Polyphony Digital always makes Gran Turismo, so we know what they're working on. What about the other Sony first party studios, right? So let's just go down the list of first party studios, shall we? Let's see. So we have Ben Studio, reset. Blue Point Games, reset. Fire Sprite, don't know. Guerrilla Games, it's going to be another Horizon game. Haven Studios, Fair Games, I don't know if that's going to come out. We shall see. Housemark, we don't know what they're working on. They shipped Returnal in 2021. Insomniac, we should hope that we're going to see Wolverine at some point in the near future. Media Molecule was shut down. Naughty Dog, of course, we know what they're working on. Um, Nix's ports does the PC ports for them. Polyphony Digital, of course, is working on the next Gran Turismo game. There was that San Mateo studio, was a support studio for second party. Sony Santa Monica, of course, they're working on the Cory Barlog sci-fi game. Team Asobi just shipped the game of the year last year, Astrobot. Um, I just like, what are we doing? Former studios, Big, Evolution, Firewalk, Guerrilla Cambridge, Incognito, Japan Studio, London Studio, Manchester, Neon Koi, Pixel Opus, Studio Liverpool, Zipper Interactive. Let's see. London Studio was shut down in 24. Manchester was shut down in 2020. Japan Studio was shut down in 2021. Firewalk was shut down in 24. Pixel Opus shut down in 23. They've closed more studios than they've actually published games. And that's scary. And you can't just wait for Naughty Dog to put out another banger. You just can't do that. The rest of these studios have got to pull their weight. But I'm not blaming the heads of those studios. I'm blaming Jim Ryan, who got to retire, or at least they told us he retired, and just walk away. Jim Ryan is like that meme of that little girl standing in the street, and the street, like the houses are on fire behind her and she's smirking. That's Jim Ryan to me, because you thought video games are not a monolith. All right. You cannot just catch fire in the, like catching lightning in a bottle like Fortnite. That was not supposed to happen. And that's the reason, um, that you look around and you see all those other games that try to copy the mode or try to do something like that. They haven't exactly worked out because you can only catch lightning in a bottle once. What Fortnite did was it was free to play. They made it accessible for kids who wanted to play shooter games but weren't really good, couldn't survive in a Call of Duty lobby 10 years ago. And then they did great licensing deals with Marvel and the NFL and the NBA and LeBron James and Nike and Jordan Brand and Dragon Ball and Naruto. They've done all these amazing licensing deals. Epic did a great job with Fortnite, but every game cannot be Fortnite, you guys. That's just the long and short of it. So when I see stuff like this, I'm just looking around like, who thought all of this was a good idea? Well, of course, Jim Ryan did. I could not be more happy that Jim Ryan is no longer in charge over there. I'm glad that there is now somebody sitting above Herman Holst who gets to say, hey, I don't think this is a good idea. There has to be checks and balances. Why haven't they gone out and made, other than the deal they made with Square Enix to get Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth exclusive to PlayStation on the console end, they haven't made that many great licensing third-party deals. Okay, Silent Hill 2, which I still haven't played, which I need to play. Sony used to make these amazing third-party and second-party games. Like, you had Helldivers and stuff like that, which was made by Arrowhead. But Sony published it, if I'm not mistaken. They just have not operated well this generation. And I, for one, am happy that now there's checks and balances above Herman Holst. I'm happy that Jim Ryan is gone, and I'm happy that they seem to want to get back to business as usual. I pray that they don't waste the last good years of the PlayStation 5. I'm not worried about the PlayStation 6 and the launch of that, because I would have to assume Mark Cerny is also going to be the architect of that console. And Mark Cerny has showed us that he knows what he's doing. And when he starts to build, when he, puts the console together the way he wants, and I'm not talking the hardware, I'm talking the software, PSSR, I think they're figuring it out on PlayStation 5 Pro. By the time it makes it to PlayStation 6, I think it's going to be fucking amazing. What I'm talking about is the IO put through. and the amount of RAM and the custom built SSD on the PlayStation 5. When developers like, I remember when everybody was focused on the teraflops because Microsoft made that the buzzword back with the Xbox, with Project Scorpio, which turned out to be the Xbox One X. Microsoft made that the buzzword. And then developers are like, nobody cares about teraflops. We're talking about what Mark Cerny just said on stage, how this SSD is going to work and how it's going to allow us like better tools to develop games. Everybody was excited about that. So I'm not worried about the PlayStation 6 hardware. I'm not worried about the architecture of the PlayStation 6. I just hope that the Jim Ryan, Herman Holst regime did not do irreversible damage to PlayStation as a brand, because I just cannot for the life of me fathom how they could screw something up so bad. And the crazy thing is they should have learned their lesson after the PlayStation 3 generation. And I have to look at it like this. The PlayStation 5 Pro shipped at as MSRP of $700. There are people talking like, with the tariffs and everything going on, the PlayStation 6, oh man, it could be $1,000. We fucking hope it's not. We really do. But this is all scary. This is all scary. And I hate to see, again, I just hate to see what Jim Ryan and Herman Holtz did to the PlayStation brand. And I know people are going to watch this and be like, you're a fucking pony. And it's like, all right, whatever. Who cares? Like, you call me that all day long. I don't care. I play on every platform. It doesn't bother me. So if you want to call me a Sony pony, well, then you go right on the fuck ahead. But I just think that they've done some real damage to the PlayStation brand. And I cannot believe that I even have to sit here and make this video. So I don't know. But anyway, that is the very first episode of The Last Word. Again, make sure to tell your friends and family, subscribe to the Patreon. Great content at a very minimal price. I'm going to take this thing to some other platforms as well. I'm going to try to figure out this whole TikTok thing. I cannot guarantee you that I'm going to do that, but we shall see. Anyway, I'm going to end this like I end everything else. Believe in yourself first and foremost, because if you don't believe in yourself, of course, somebody else will believe in you. As always, my name is Derrick Lamon Jackson. And ladies and gentlemen, that is my time. Y'all have a good one. Peace out.